I feel really honoured and privileged to be asked to be part of this event and have the opportunity to connect with so many of you today. As Emma had said, for the last 15 years, feel like I've been really blessed to be able to do what I really love, and that's making a difference in people's lives. So whether that's been through my role in talent acquisition or as my time as a health coach, being able to create changes for others really adds fuel to my own internal fire. So what do I do with this fire and this energy? Well, I challenge thoughts, perceptions and processes in my role at PwC by driving inclusive recruitment and leading our flexible careers network. Now, PwC is all about people. And how do we do this? Well, we create an environment where people can be the best they can be. We encourage and support both professional and personal development, individuality and choices. And we really empower an inclusive and diverse culture to really drive creativity and authenticity. Now, I wanted to share with you this quote from our Chief People Officer, Laura Hinton, because I think it really sums up that perception versus reality. And there is a perception. A firm like ours, you need to work traditional working patterns or, work very long hours and kind of commit your whole life to it, have a career with us. And actually that just isn't true. And that isn't actually our reality. We recognize that everyone has different personal priorities, and this can also change in their time with us. But really the key to attract and retain our people is by offering the different flexible options. So flexibility has become part of our DNA, and I'm really excited to be able to take you on our journey, bit of a tour, and talk you through really the policies we've implemented, our learnings, the impact of COVID-19, and what the future could look like. For us, flexibility has many layers. And this could include encouraging our people to explore different ways of working, really allowing a better balance of work and life, really driving a culture of inclusion where everyone can successfully have a career and lives outside. And I think really most importantly, think about work as an activity rather than a place. So let's begin the journey. Now, our journey actually began in 2017, and it was kind of kicked off from an initiative called Smart Working. Smart Working was about helping our people to be more adaptable, to more agile for changing markets and different clients. Now, there were 5 areas that were highlighted, and being flexible was basically one of them. And from that was born the everyday flexibility. I guess it was a natural evolution of what firms used to call a flexible working policy. But what it does is empowers our people to make choices about how, where, and when they work. And it really kind of gets people to think about how to do things differently. So thinking about start and finish times, beating that commuter traffic, when to have your breaks to fit in your personal commitments, and really thinking about where should you be based. I mean, if you're on calls for an afternoon, do you actually need to be in the office? Now, to really facilitate this huge change, we needed to invest in technology. So at the same time, we invested in Google. So a huge suite of cloud collaboration tools, software and products to allow and facilitate for this to happen. But I'm sure you can all appreciate just having technology in place wasn't actually going to necessarily change the culture. So we then basically decided that we needed some form of guidance. So we put together a toolkit, and this was basically to provide partners and employees with the guidance and resources to proactively really embed everyday flexibility and also enabling smart working culture. So there were these key principles within that toolkit that I wanted to share with you. So it's about working differently, not working less. So being open-minded, reimagine the possible, really try out new approaches to way of working. The interesting one is there's not a one size fits all. So it's not what works for one day, 1 week, 1 month can be completely different. And this is to empower individuals to make and choose that decision and to keep changing it up depending on what's happening with work, but also with your life. And communication is really key because flexibility requires planning, it requires project management, but it also involves dialogue with your team. But it also involves talking about maybe when that flexibility might not be working. So then having that openness about trying something different instead. So then as we continue our journey, we hit into 2018. Now, we went that step further with our flexible journey. It was really clear society was approaching work differently. There's a rise in people really wanting to work in a different way. And so in 2018, we adapted to that. We really challenged those stereotypes about traditional working arrangements. So we created 2 networks, Flexible Talent and the Contractor Network. Now, the Flexible Talent Network, this was a cohort of individuals who wanted to work on a different flexible arrangement. So what we mean about this is what we mean about this is basically annualized days contract. We meant reduced hours. So it was about empowering and giving the opportunity. But important to note, these employees would be still permanent employees of PwC, but they could be on a permanent contract or a fixed term contract. Currently, we have about 1,600 people who work in this way, and we've got over 60,000 people that have signed up to want to basically be able to work that way. So you can see that the demand from society is there. And then our contractor network, well, this allows people to come in, get the experience of working at PwC, working with different clients for a particular time, for a particular project, and then going to be able to do something else. Now, it's important to note, this is obviously powerful for an individual to be able to kind of have those options, but it's also really powerful to the business because there are business needs. So, for example, for us with our audit busy season, we don't necessarily need someone to be 12 months permanent. So actually, that flexibility is there, and it can be also beneficial for a business on a commercial basis. So, as we moved on to 2019, you can see we had quite a lot going on as far as these big initiatives. So there isn't really a big initiative that I can talk to in 2019, but I did want to just really highlight what the impact of those had been. So I always think it's really good to hear from people themselves. I've got a short video that I'd like to share with you. So I'm going to play this now, and I'll be back soon.
Everyday flexibility is very important to me. I have a young family. On Wednesdays, I take my daughter to boxing in the afternoon after school, and which means that I start 7 o'clock in the morning and finish at 3:30.
Means that I can flex my day to satisfy both my needs and the needs of my stakeholders.
Flexi working is all about the choices I don't have to make. I don't choose between a fulfilling career and family life.
I've become a dad for the first time. I've been able to sort of really be there for the special moments in the build-up to the big arrival.
I work from home 2 days a week to be able to do nursery and preschool drop-off and pick-up.
So I need to be around for nursery pickups, bath times, meal times, bedtimes, and everything else.
I take every lunch break to go at the gym and have a workout, have a shower, just take some time for myself.
Everyday flexibility to me means being able to work on stuff on the go.
Now my son can go to after-school clubs, have friends round to play dates, and we all eat dinner together.
I suffer from hearing difficulties, so the flexible working means I get to work at home when I find I'm struggling, and also for medical appointments.
Working flexibly allows me to be there for my daughter in the days that really matter to her, like her first trip to her new school.
For me, the introduction of Google has been an absolute game changer. It means I can collaborate on documents and have meetings with my team who are all based in London while I work from home so that I can do the school run and collect my 5-year-old daughter.
It allows me to work in different environments, whether I want a quiet space to work or a collaborative atmosphere.
I think it's something that can be used by everybody in the firm to ensure that they remain productive, get a balanced life and can contribute fully to their team.
I guess to sum up, when other school parents and friends ask me how do I juggle a career and 3 young children and a husband who works away from home during the week, and the answer without being too cheesy is everyday flexibility.
Everything for flexible working really benefits my working life experience. So thank you, PwC.
Thanks, PwC.
Thanks, PwC.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I really wanted to share that with you guys because I think hearing it from our people it's important. And also, I guess to really kind of hone in on the point that this is available to everyone for any personal priority. And that's for any grade, any level, and actually for as soon as somebody joins PwC. And I think that's really, again, a powerful point to make, that it's not a selective, it's not a time earned, that you have to be with the company or it's only for senior people and not for junior people. It is for everyone. So it is completely inclusive. With any policy changes, and in a company such as large as ours, there are obviously going to be some questions. So I wanted to share with you some of the perceptions from the business. You're trying to change people's hearts and minds. You're trying to really change a culture shift of what's best practice and really and how to work. A couple that I'll highlight. So when we do the breakout room, we can obviously talk through a little bit more in all of these in a bit more detail. But relationship building with teams and with clients is more effective in person than over technology. I mean, this is about people obviously being comfortable with technology. And remember, this was 2019, so this is pre-COVID. And what we had to do is really hone in and make people understand that actually having the technology does help to deepen those relationships by using the video conferencing or the actual kind of Google chats. And actually, what used to be the norm, that you had to all be around a table and in a room to be able to collaborate, well, you didn't have to do that because we had those tools to support. So that opened up people being in different locations. That's also opened up doing international projects and working with our global PwC network. So, but again, it was really about shifting and breaking that perception that actually it is just as effective. And yes, you could say initial relationships or interactions, could be best to start with face-to-face, but really kind of continue that, does it always have to be face-to-face? I think another interesting one was people do expect to see visible leadership in the office. And I think sometimes the interpretation of visibility is a bit too literal and actually confuses visibility with accessibility. And I think FaceTime doesn't necessarily equate to good leadership. An effective leader, as long as they're communicating to their team, they're being really clear about their vision, their expectations, what's required of them, whether somebody physically sees them or not becomes less important. And let's be honest, how many times have we been in the office, obviously pre-COVID, and you might say hi to your line manager, but then everyone's so busy with doing anything, you don't actually see them. So the key thing here is about being present and being present virtually, and knowing that you're not stressed, knowing that you're in a good place is as important and actually probably more key than having someone physically being able to see them. So let's move on to 2020. And I wanted to share with you the total talent approach. Now, with all these initiatives, again, it's about, that's great that we've got them. How do we actually, it's the action part that Emma and Dagmar have been talking about. How do we actually make the change and actually be able to see that so it impacts our employees? So the total talent approach is very much about challenging the business. So when the business is looking to increase headcount, we will challenge them in the way of how do they actually need to resource it. So does it need to be a permanent full-time person? Could it be could annualized, part-time, contractor? So we're challenging that perception. And to be honest, we're kind of breaking what good looks like, because there is, people think that if you're not available, or giving your life away to a firm, then maybe you're not so good. That's wrong. Just because individuals have decided to maybe take a break for life priorities or gone to do something else outside of that role does not mean that they aren't skilled or qualified for that. And actually, a question or a challenge that I push back to them is for PwC, when we interview, we have kind of 5 different values. Now, relationship building, leadership, being really open in how you solve problems. That's all really important. You can learn that in so many different ways and experiences. So it's been really, really quite interesting getting responses from the business, but actually hearing them say, God, wow, thank you, because I wouldn't have ever thought of it in that way. And it's focusing on the fact that there are untapped talent pools of people out there who are just as skilled and qualified. So no one's kind of narrowing the search, we're actually widening it. And flexibility is now a key component of our inclusive recruitment strategy at PwC. So everything is basically all intertwined together. Now, we have multiple stakeholders. So this isn't just about educating the business. This is about educating the operational teams that support the business. This is about educating the recruitment team as well. So my team, we are ambassadors, and we are constantly educating and promoting what else and options are out there. And I'm really pleased that conversations are moving away from that awful culture fit that was always there before, and actually we're talking about culture enhancement, right? We're talking about diversity of thought. We are, so it's really powerful. We are on this journey. It only kind of kicked off last year, but I would say that it's been really well received. However, it's not, everyone's on their own flexible journey. So there will be some leaders who get it straight away. Maybe they've got their own personal experience. Maybe they've seen where it's worked well. And others who are a bit more resistant. So again, it's changing those hearts and minds of individuals, and also proving through delivery and actually them meeting and speaking to those candidates, and they say, wow, this is amazing. So then we had COVID-19. I mean, apart from war, never in the history of mankind has a single event caused so much panic, disruption, uncertainty, and effectively caused the world to stop for a prolonged period of time. And we, like every company, had to prepare and respond to this crisis and change. We followed kind of, 3 stages where we had that disruption piece. Yes, we had everyday flexibility, but this was about setting everybody up fully remotely working from home. Then we had that transition piece. We had to implement the new policies and procedures. And then we had the optimized piece, which is, monitoring and acting on the feedback and having to basically change and evolve when required. But at the heart of this was our people, and more specifically, the well-being of our people. But before we could decide on what was right, what was wrong, what changes we needed to make, we needed to understand how they were feeling. So I wanted just to kind of share with you some feedback and some thoughts, and I'm sure everyone here listening can relate to many of these, lots of these. The increased blurred lines between work and home life. The unsuitable work from home setup. Might be fine to do it for a day, but oh my God, I'm here now and I'm on my kitchen table, and I've got my husband that's working next to me, and all of those things. The persistent feelings of disconnect and isolation for those people who are living on their own. And I guess that the ongoing anxiety of, well, when is this going to end? What's going to happen? Which obviously impacted a lot of us as well. So we recognise that the support would need to take various forms and really in order to address everyone's unique set of circumstances. And we wanted to make sure that everyone was included and looked after. So I'm going to share with you some of the changes that we made. So the investment in technology, we were very fortunate that because of the everyday flexibility that we had in 2017, that technology was there. And actually, from a survey that we did in April 2020, 87% of people felt they had the right tools and technology to enable successful remote working. So that probably didn't impact us as much as probably other companies who didn't have any of that infrastructure set up in place. What we did do is we also did actually create a bespoke COVID-19 website, because to really again reduce that anxiety, it was about having somewhere where people knew what was the communications, what could they expect, especially as things were just evolving and changing and then going back and forward and whatnot. And actually, since April 2020, on average, we've had over 5,000 views on that website. So it was very much well received by our people. Then we wanted to support our parents and carers. We were obviously talking about this just before we kicked off about, the impact for parents and carers having to homeschool, and actually, what could we do to help them? So we created a time off for dependent code. So it was a code that people could use if they weren't able to work their standard hours because of caring commitments. Now, this isn't about, I'm sorry, I can't work between 10 and 12, but I will catch up when my children go to sleep, so I'll be on at 8 to 10. This was giving people the permission, okay, to say, we know you've got this, put the code in, and you don't need to worry about it. Because we wanted to try and, again, reduce that extra pressure and the anxiety and the anxiousness that's obviously that everyone was feeling. We supported with homeschooling. We did some virtual classes for some of the older kids about employability skills. We put together some learning materials. And we also had our parents and carers network. So we have a number of networks at PwC, but this actually became really important. And the membership doubled in 2020. Because that was just a real safe space for people to be able to share their stories, learn from each other, and realize that they weren't alone. So the new joiner experience. So we still were recruiting, and so how did that mean for people coming in? Well, everything went virtual. So we were doing interviews virtually. We were looking, and that actually has become a real opportunity for us. So moving forward for experienced hire, we're now looking at really incorporating the virtual interviews. So whether that's using game-based assessments, video assessments, because we actually found the interview process was a lot faster. You didn't have to try and get people's diaries together, trying to make sure people were in the same location. So we're going to definitely take that learning into the new world, however that looks. Then the virtual onboarding of new joiners. So in April, we onboarded 200 new joiners. So what used to be everyone gather the first day, firm-wide event in one venue, obviously that was completely disrupted. So we worked really hard on thinking, right, how are we going to get those laptops to them? What can we do on a logistical basis? Because we didn't want to defer anyone's start dates, and we didn't. So everybody who was meant to join, unless they were coming over, I guess, from an international country, and that was obviously for different reasons, but anyone who was in the UK, we committed to their start date. And what we did do is we got the business engaged with us so much more, because we were really conscious of, someone's joining a firm and in their living room, basically, how can we make sure that they are really connected? So we put a lot more coffees, catch-ups with probably a lot more people. And I guess compensated for the fact that you couldn't just walk around and introduce yourself to someone as you could do if you were physically there. So we made sure that we put kind of local induction plans in, and that's been really, really well received. Now, innovating student recruitment. So, with student recruitment, our graduate program, we had law fairs where we would go to the different universities, and obviously that wasn't going to be the case, and we saw that. So we designed a virtual park. So I guess what is that? Well, it's basically a virtual world where you, as a student, can build your own avatar. And if you like me, it took about 40 minutes to try and to build it. So you can be whoever you want, actually. And then you can go and you basically have virtual experience of meeting the recruiters, learning about PwC. So it's a virtual fair. We kicked this off in October and we welcomed 4,000 kind of staff and students, and it has been fabulous. It's a fantastic tool. And I think what's also been really, quite important is that it doesn't matter where you are. So it's so inclusive as a tool. And actually it kind of takes away the fact of, can somebody be there or not? And actually everyone has joined. So in moving forward in the future, we will definitely be using this as part of our tool. And then volunteering opportunities. It was really clear from our people that they wanted to be there and do more for their community. So we had something called one firm, one day, where the whole firm took off a day to do volunteering. We changed that to one firm every day, and we gave and empowered, I guess, everyone to decide on what they wanted to do for their communities, and that they could just balance that and fit that in within their work and other commitments. So lots of changes. So here we are, 2021. I can't believe we are in March already, and already a fair bit's gone on. So we renamed the Flexible Talent Network that I've mentioned to you that we launched in 2018 to the Flexible Careers Network. Reasons for that is the word talent can be seen from a social mobility background to actually not be as inclusive. So, and we didn't want that to be the case. So we looked at that and we did some analysis and reviewed. And also we felt that actually we didn't want people to think that if you were working not on a traditional working pattern, that you couldn't have a career with us. So we wanted to change that and be really clear that if it's flexible, it's still a career. So we relaunched that early this year. We were also, which is really fantastic, we were voted the best employer for flexible working in 2021. So that was really, really good accolade, and I think it's testament to all the work that we have been doing. And I guess finally, I just wanted to, touch on what the future of flexible working could look like. Now, we are currently undertaking a survey to understand from our people how they would like to work. And unfortunately, we're probably about 3 weeks out from being able to tell you what that deal is going to look like. So maybe, Emma, that's time for another session for another day when we can. But I think there are some key messages which has come out, which is, there will be a blended approach. Many people are looking forward to kind of having that, being able to go to the office, but also being able to kind of to be at home, which means what we will look to do is think about the workspace, the office space. What does that look like? Is it more about collaboration? So why would people want to be in the office? There's also more investment that will be done with technology. So with blended working, how do you make sure that if you are from home and you're in a team meeting and you've got some people in the office and some people at home, how do you make sure that everybody feels included and has that voice? So again, we're investigating on how technology is going to be able to help with us on that. And actually, with everyday flexibility, although the messaging in 2017 was empowering, on reflection, and and we'll talk about the importance of evolving policies, at that point in time, it was probably too far forward with where we were. And actually, it was probably more people feeling like they had the permission to be able to do the flexibility. So now we will be looking to think about how we can encourage people to be empowered. So actually, and really kind of enforcing that within our new deal. So I guess I'd just like to finish off really to say, for anyone who's out there that is, I guess everyone's on their different journey with flexibility, but there are some real kind of learnings and takeaways from our journey to date. And that is, really find out what your employees really want and continue to evolve your policies. Keep checking, because as we know, the world is changing, everything is changing, and what works 1 minute isn't going to necessarily work. So keep keep connecting with your employees and seeing them what has to do, and be bold and brave about making those decisions and actually doing them. And it's okay if you need to then change it, because maybe you actually need to tweak it, but not doing anything is not the answer. Again, offer the same flexibility to everyone. Really important. I think that's why you heard from our people, that's why it works so well, because it's down to you is to decide on how you want to use it. Trust, ensure that trust is baked in. So, people feel that it's not just being something that's there, but is it real? Can I really do that? Is it going to affect my career, my promotion and whatnot? So you've got to make sure that that's there. And you know what? Shout about it, talk about it, talk about flexibility until it sticks, and you have to keep going. And that's another learning from us. Having the policy is great, but to actually make it part of your DNA, you need to get your sponsors in. So make sure leaders are talking about it. Anyone who is actually bought in, get them to sponsor you, get them to actually talk to other people, because it's really interesting how what someone thinks and can see that something's working somewhere else, then everybody wants to be part of it. And naturally, that will kind of help to really change that culture. True flexibility is so powerful and amazing for employees, but it is absolutely crucial for businesses.